And you lift your voice and worship him and tell him that, Father, I believe you. That was your spirit. Which will begin the 23rd year since then, with mind training. So there are, by which will be said, if you cannot see millions, so whatever, when you read, it is one of the key lies in your life. My that can, and this morning, you are one of the decisions, and in the coming season, I am going to acknowledge the admit. Are you getting the point? So sometimes when you are reading a book, you find acknowledgements. Then the author will say, I acknowledge so and so for typing my scripts. The person is actually admitting that such a person exists and they played a role in the publishing of this book. Amen. Now, the reason why it is important for you to acknowledge the Lord in all of your ways, and he said, as you are living life, it happens, not always, but a few times. As you are living life, you will go to bed, you go to sleep, and then you wake up from that sleep, and it will just dawn on you that wakichere and ubia wabobra kakra. You have come to that point where you were just living life, cruising, has set your flight to autopilot, and life was good until one day you just woke up and you realize that no, things ought to be different than what it is now. Sometimes you just wake up and realize that, Charlie, man for do well. Sometimes you just wake up and realize that, no, by now I should be building a house. Sometimes you just wake up and realize that, by now I should have been doing this. And sometimes when you find yourself in such a place, the most miserable and frustrating part is you have not laid any foundation at all for what you believe should have been happening at that stage of your life. Are you following it? So when you start reading the book of Chronicles, First Chronicles begins with names and genealogies. Adam, Seth, Enoch, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. Then right after Noah, they mentioned Shem, Japheth, Ham. You see that there are a lot of names that are not mentioned. How many of you see it? But they mention certain names. And the sons of Japheth were Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer were they mentioned. And the sons of Java they mentioned. But they didn't mention the sons of Magog. How many of you get it? And the sons of Ham were Cush. Cush means Ethiopia. Mizrim means Egypt. In fact, Canaan. So some of them actually means Libya and others. And the sons of Cush. So from the Bible, we know that the descendants of the son of Noah, who was cursed, actually are the people that came to live in Africa. Amen. But listen to this. Nobody can blame the failure and the poverty of Africa on the curse of Noah. I'll tell you why. Because when Ham mocked his father cursed him. But the sentence was postponed to be served in the future. So he said, I've cursed you, but the curse will begin with your children. So Canaan will serve the sentence of the curse. So if anything at all, the people who should have been poorest are the Canaanites. You get the point? But the descendants of Ham actually came to live in Africa. Now, an African is not a weak person. Not at all. The sons of Cush, verse 9. Seba, Havilah, Sabat, Sabta, Ramah, Skabatka, the sons of Ramah, Sheba, Dedan, and Cush gave birth to Nimrod, a very great hunter. Maybe tonight I will speak a few things about idolatry and demon worship. And if I have the grace, I'll speak about the Queen of Heaven. And so I'm likely to talk more about Nimrod and the worship of the Queen of Heaven and its connection to modern day Christianity and religion. But Nimrod was born to Cush, and he began to be mighty in the earth. That's why I said you cannot blame the poverty of Africa on the curse of Noah. Amen. But Mizrim, who was also a son of Cush, which is actually Egypt, begat Ludim and Anamim and Lehabim and whatever. So the names are there. And Canaan begat Sidon, and the Jebusites and the Amorites and the Gigashites and the Hivites and the Archites and the Sinites and the Avadites and the Zemarites and the Hamatites. So you realize that the cities that were built by the sons of Canaan, the grandchildren of Ham, were the 7 mountains that were delivered to the descendants of Shem. How many of you get the point? So most of those cities have been taken over by the descendants of Shem. We see here too how generational curses can limit people from ever being able to fulfill destiny. Amen. Amen. Yeah, generational curses. Now, when you read on and on and on and on, you come to chapter 4, verse 9. You are now looking at another very interesting family. And this interesting family is actually the family of Judah. And then out of the family of Judah, in verse 9, was born a man, and the name of that man is Jabez. And now look at this. Jabez was more honorable than his brethren. And his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bear him with sorrow. So Jabez was living his life, and he woke up one day and realized that the results he was getting in life